Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Litchfield Planning Board meeting of January 18th, 2022. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Check with Jeff before you leave. We have to talk about.
Okay.
They said don't.
We do have Sam here this evening. He's our alternate. Good evening. Looks like we have a full member board. So I think we may be able to do a vote without.
No, well, you can have 7.
You can have 7? Okay. All right. Well, would you be interested in voting this evening?
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll do that. So we'll appoint Sam as an alternate. And I'll start with the roll call of members present. Michael Croto, Chair.
Kate Stevens, Vice Chair.
Ron Stevens, member.
Kimberly Queen and Selectmen's Rep.
Sam Terrell, alternate member.
James Buffetti, member.
Curtis Sampson, member.
Okay, good evening. And welcome Jamin Kara, our circuit rider from NRPC. And Mr. Luke Herron, town engineer. Good evening. And I believe our building inspector is here as well. Good evening, Mr. Blackwell in the back. Okay, first item of business, public input on non-agenda items not on the agenda for this evening. Is there any members of the public that wish to comment on non-agenda items this evening? All right, hearing none, I will close public input on non-agenda items. Number 1, Corning Farm at River Edge. Application is for 66 3-bedroom townhouses. The units are proposed to be 16 4-unit buildings of multifamily housing on a 39.6 acre parcel at 540 Charles Bancroft Highway, tax map 22, lot 14. The existing buildings are proposed to be removed except for the existing house, which will be converted into a 2-family unit. Owner DeBlois Living Trust, Darlene DeBlois trustee, applicant DAR Builders, Reginald Moreau. If the aforementioned application is accepted, notice is hereby extended to application approval, consideration, and/or continuations to a date certain as required. Is the applicant present this evening? Would you mind coming forward and sitting at the table and introducing yourself to the board?
All set?
Good evening.
Okay, my name is Eric Mitchell. My office has prepared these plans for DAR Builders. Reggie Morrow is also here for DAR. You want me to give you a little rundown of what we're doing?
Well, before we do that, we need to accept the application for completeness. It's a paper exercise. This is usually something that's done before we go into the substantive issue of the site plan. So I'm going to ask at this time, Joan, has the applicant provided all required fees
Yes.
and all abutters have been notified,
Correct.
Okay. And Jay, do we have all of the materials for an application for completeness?
So I think at the time I did my staff review, there were a few items that I noted. One was traffic report, which had not been received.
Okay.
Another was building elevations and renderings, which we had not received. I will say since that time later this afternoon, we did receive a copy of a traffic report. We did receive the building elevations. I've
Okay.
not reviewed them, but we did receive them.
Okay.
And internal circulation plan was another item that I noted that should also be submitted. Beyond that, those are really the checklist items. There are some other substantive issues, but those don't affect acceptance.
Okay. So we do have abutters notified. We have fees paid. It sounds as though the information that came to you, Jay, did it come in at like the last, like
Came in this
today,
afternoon.
this
Yes.
afternoon. And so you really haven't had an opportunity to look at the.
No, we haven't. I did bring copies with me, but I have not looked at it at all.
Okay. Because I believe the rule is it 21 days before the hearing that the applicant has to submit his plans and applications and so forth?
Yes.
Okay. Well, seeing that Jay has not had an opportunity to review them in detail, I'm not inclined to issue a motion for acceptance of this plan. I'm just letting you know. That's my personal take. I don't know what the board feels, and certainly the board has the opportunity to discuss it. But I think I would rather have an opportunity for Jay to really dive into the plans and make sure that we have everything that we need in order for completeness. It's important that if we're going to present a site plan to the board, that we make sure that we have everything on it that needs to be addressed and so forth. What is the board's feeling on that? I mean, I don't know. That's just my.
If I may interject, I should have mentioned that the applicants did submit a waiver request on the traffic study, hoping that it would be accepted and the traffic report submitted later. So I should have made note of that.
Okay. Well, considering the fact that, and if you haven't had an opportunity to really review that, I think it might be best to just for tonight, forego acceptance until the applicant has everything that's needed for you to review this project, because this is quite a large project for the town. And you guys, I mean, it's up to you, it's up to the board, but that is my personal prerogative. So,
I would agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I do too.
okay.
I do too.
Okay. All right. So this time I'm thinking what I'll do is entertain a motion. Well, do we need a motion or do we need to not accept it?
A
or-
motion would be appropriate.
Yeah, so I'm going to need a motion to, at this time, not accept the application. Now, that being said, I will allow the applicant to speak on the project tonight because they are here. They had an opportunity to come in. But we're not going to vote on any acceptance of the plan or acceptance of the plan as submitted yet. But I will allow you to speak and talk about what you're planning to do. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to not accept the application.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
second. Motion second. Do I have discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained. Motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 0. Okay, can't count. I'm sorry. So I think it's just the only reason for this, and just so the applicant is clear, the procedurally I would rather have Jay take an opportunity to look at the plans. I know Mr. Karen had a lot of issues, from what I understand, with the project. And it may be an opportunity for Jay to just review them. I know he just got them today. So it's nothing against you. It's a procedural thing. Normally, when we do have site plans, we request that the applicant submit the plans and everything 21 days before the hearing. And I think that's important because Jay needs to review them. So that's what I'm going to say on that. But I am going to allow you, sir, to, if you want to talk about this project, you're certainly welcome to talk, given the plan that you have and what it is that you're proposing.
Sure, thank you. Again, my name is Eric Mitchell, and the application that we submitted was for the project that is on the screen. And I do understand that the traffic review letter was just submitted today. However, as was stated, we did submit a waiver for the purposes of acceptance only, not to submit the traffic review letter. And then also for the state permits. We do need several state permits, but we wanted to get feedback from the board, from the town consultants and everybody before we submitted things to the state, just in case things were going to change. And as you stated, this is a significant project. It's very large number of units on the property, so that's going to take a period of time for us to go through this and actually get it all finished up and done. Just for a clarification on the project itself, it is tax map 22, lot 14. Address is 540 Charles Bancroft Highway, and Du Bois Living Trust is the owner, and DR Builders, who are here, are the developers. 39.6 acres, which has an existing house, barn, and riding arena in it. It is zoned residential and also in the multifamily overlay district. The site also has pastures and a cornfield down below, down by the river. What the proposal is here is to convert the existing house into a 2-unit building, and then to build and construct 64 3-bedroom townhouse units. Those would be 4 units per building. This would be on municipal water and community septic systems. And we have provided 2 parking spaces per unit plus a garage. So if they're parking in the garage, it's 3 units, 3 spaces per unit. As I stated, we had asked for a waiver for state permits and traffic for the purposes of acceptance only. The project itself, we've been before the board a couple times. I don't remember how many people were here. And we've had a couple discussions on it before we went ahead and did the final design. The design that we have is for all of the drainage, the roadways, the layouts, the parking, and all that. And we did receive a letter today from Mr. Karen on his comments. I've read through that. The majority of all the comments that we have, I believe, are just addressable with, there is several of them, but it's all things we can address with edits on the plan and changes. I didn't see much in terms of design problems. It's more clarification of that, which we will do. Some of that, we've actually taken care of some of those items after submission, because we noticed there were some things that were not completely obvious or clear. So we've cleared up some of that. When we were here before with just a discussion, we still had the 64 units, similar layout to what we show. But there was a question about what to do with the existing house. That is a historic building of historic nature. I don't believe it's officially historic on the list of historic buildings, but it does have a definite history. After we had left it the last time here, initially we were looking to not use the house building, but since we've looked at it, it's not something that can easily be moved, because structurally it's not sitting on very good ground, and the structure itself isn't real good. But based on comments from the town, hoping that something could be done with the building, the developer is looking to turn that into a 2-unit building. So it would be upgraded and improved, and it'll still be there as an historic building. The site itself is going to have common mailboxes, which you've shown on the site, and we have 3 dumpster locations, which will be on the site. So also the land area down below, down by the river, there's considerable. It's a cornfield now. That's something that is going to be. This isn't a open space development, so we can't say it's open land, but it may be something that is perhaps can be used as a conservation purposes for the town. It is adjacent to the existing conservation land that the town does own. Because we have, it's a sizable project, there's a lot of things going on. We want to continue to get any additional comments that anybody may have. We do have comments, as I stated, from Mr. Karen, and we'll be addressing those. But any additional comments that board members have that you want us to look into to come back, we will gladly do that.
And did you, I believe we received a letter from, was it National Grid?
Yes.
Did you reach out to them? as an abutter. I think they were interested in getting copies.
I sent them the
project?
PDF of the plan, and they responded today that they need to review it and they need a review fee. So I'll forward that email.
So
to Eric.
probably a good idea to try to maybe touch base with them and find out. Obviously, that runs through where the project is going to be.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, we had contacted them prior to designing the plans to talk about what, if anything, can be done under the easements and that. And they did confirm that certain improvements can be done. They can't stop. Whatever we do, we cannot make it so they cannot maintain their lines. But it is not an easement which is exclusive, that nothing can happen underneath it. Currently, there's pasture and cornfields, and we do have two detention ponds underneath that, and those are, as what we've discussed with them, that's acceptable, but we do have plans that we can submit over to them for their formal review.
Okay. Because I know that they did reach out to Joan, so they were curious what was going on. So I think it's probably prudent just to make sure that they're on board. So, but okay, very good. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
When you first started speaking about the project, you mentioned about septic, or could you repeat what you said about the septic system?
Each building will have its own septic system, so that there would be 4 units will each on their own standalone septic, and they'll have community water, municipal water, but each building will have its own septic system.
For some reason, I thought you said municipal septic.
I
Yeah.
may have misspoke, but it's a
I probably misinterpreted.
common septic system and municipal water.
Thank you.
Have you reached out to, you mentioned something about part of the property for conservation land purposes, the Conservation Commission in town. Maybe just a suggestion, but maybe talk to them, see what they think for that piece of land. They're usually very amenable to, that in terms of conservation properties in town. So that's just a suggestion.
And I don't know whether Reggie has talked to them.
Yes, I can speak to that. I had a conversation actually earlier this week in regards to what may be possible. And because we don't really know what's possible yet with the condominium, I said that we would certainly follow up with this once we get to that point and we can see what we can legally and not legally do.
All right, thank you. Yeah,
Can
James.
I ask a question about the house? So I know there's been some speculation about the historical nature of that house. Do we actually know anything about the house? It's based on evidence. And do we have any sense of if it has any historical value when it was built?
Can I answer that? We do have a 1980 study that was done by NRPC, and we have documentation of that house.
You do? Okay.
It goes back to the 1700s. It's one of the more significant properties in town.
Okay.
Did speak with the Historical Society today. The barn is like 1800 to 1820.
Okay.
They may try to move it, I think, if they
There's some
could.
conversation about
Yeah.
We're amicable to anything other than, we'd rather not see it
Yeah.
taken
Well,
down.
we're thrilled about the house. That was great. Yeah.
We'd much
Appreciate
rather see
that.
it utilized and
And so has the house been added on to? I mean, how much of the house is original?
So we did a tour of the home. We've acquired the property since, so we're gonna have to update that. We are now the owners of the property. The home itself, it's kind of a unique piece where they've gone out and they've basically gutted it on the inside, on the lower level especially. And what they did is they actually took wood from the side, one side of the barn. So the older barn that you see out there has been, for lack of a better term, utilized for interior woodwork. So they took it and they made cabinets out of it and other things out of it. There's some flooring there, this old pine flooring. So they have done some modifications to it on the inside that are not dated back, vinyl siding, of course, and things like that. So there's some of the significance has been, removed from the property.
Right.
But I think that, the real significance is that, people that are familiar with the town that drive in and out having that home there. It's been there for so long that it's kind of a staple to the community. And so that was one of the things. The other thing that they've done is they've been utilizing the upstairs as a two-family for many years. They had other people living in it, so it's been utilized as a two-family. I don't know, I never checked to see if it was a legal two-family, but it has been utilized that way. So there is a kitchenette upstairs or a kitchen upstairs, and it's its own functional space, so to speak.
And do you have a sense yet of what that would look like at the end of the project, the exterior of the building?
What we end up doing is looking at removing all of the vinyl siding, more than likely replacing the windows that are in place and trying to bring it back as much as we can from a historical standpoint on the exterior. Inside, there's not a lot we can do. Keep the wide pine floors. That's a character of the home. But a lot of the other stuff has already been removed. They've got new pine doors, so it's just kind of pine, nothing. And the basement's kind of unique too. It's a rebel stone, stacked stone basement. And believe it or not, that big center chimney fireplace that you see in the home is actually not resting on the ground. It's actually built on top of cribbing.
Oh.
So when you see large railroad type cribbing, that is sitting about 5 to 6 feet in the air on top of this cribbing. I don't know why. I've never seen it before in my life. But that fireplace was actually built suspended in the air on wooden cribbing. So which is a very odd and unique thing in its own.
So will it look like some of the other buildings? And I know we saw there was a drawing of what the townhouses, the condos would look like, I think at some point in the early meeting. But would this house sort of resemble that, or are you going to attempt to restore its outside appearance to something that's more historically?
So yeah, our thoughts are that it's going to kind of sit on its own, and we're going to try to bring that back. It'll be in color tone, like for instance, you can see the center barn. This is not necessarily the color tone. We've got several palettes that we've looked at, and so we haven't came to a final conclusion. But keeping it white, which is traditionally correct, we would look at entryways and see, I can't tell whether the entryway there is the original entryway. We would look and try to see what we can get that's more significantly, or more period correct if it's not, and then try to bring the outside up and update it to where it should be, get rid of the the looks of what's there now, because it has been remodeled, for lack of a better term, with the more modern appurtenances which don't lend itself well to the historical character of the home.
Okay, so it won't necessarily look like that. It's going to, I think you said it would stand on its own. It would have its own sort of.
It would look like a typical farm, a home from back in its period.
Okay.
Which, again, what we're doing is we're trying to bring some of that into here as well.
Yep.
So that's the barn, the colors, the types of, you have a home that's been added on to. Traditionally, a lot of your farm homes have started out as a single home like that and have had additions added and L's added. And that's kind of what we tried to do here, is try to make it look like as if we have something along those lines that have occurred over time with that.
But the barn that's next to it will either be moved or demolished?
Yes, correct. That barn is a timber frame barn, so it can be taken down and can be reutilized.
Yep.
I know there's been some interest of potentially moving that down the street and putting it as part of the conservation area that's there. I'm not sure if that's something that is going to happen or not happen, but certainly we're open to it. It's the character with I don't know what they call that front part of the barn that protrudes out, where you have to actually the lift mechanism to put the hay up into the barn. It's kind of unique in town. It's really not seen too many places in town. So something like that would be nice if it could be moved. And it's a functional barn. There's really nothing wrong with the timber frame to it. It's just a matter of it's not in the right spot.
Yep. One more question, if I can. Do the plans that you have provide for a sidewalk along the street or the whole length of the property?
They don't, but they will.
Okay.
And I share that with you because we found out recently that there was a change that's going to require that to accommodate. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I've developed in this town for the last 25 plus years, and I can remember Albuquerque slowly and painfully being done. And I can tell you that's one of the most utilized things that I see, and having any sort of connectivity, eventually to make it down would be a nice feature for the community. And so we're planning on doing something similar to that across the front. We do have the room for it. in front of the structure. I was concerned
I saw that.
about that, but we do have the space.
So would it go the whole length of the property down to Moore's Fall?
Yeah, bringing it from one end to the other. Yeah, or at least from the northerly-most entrance.
Yep.
All the way down. I don't know if we would need to go down any further than that, but from the northerly-most entrance, all the way down to our property line. Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I had, you want to wait for a section on the butters, or do you want me to just bring this issue up now, or?
What is it?
I received a phone call today from somebody who's been talking with you. He said I could use his name. He wasn't sure he was going to make it to the meeting tonight or not, but if he couldn't, for me to speak for him. Brent Lemire is one of the abutters that's on your plan. He said he spoke with you about continuing, he had some continuing concerns. One was to move the entrance up where, it was before, kind of near his home. And I see it on the plan that it did move up.
Yeah.
The second thing he wanted to just make sure was that you maintain the buffer on 3A. And I think on your landscaping plan, like note 3 or 4 said you were going to keep the trees that didn't have to come down.
And
Down.
And add to the buffer as well.
Okay, so you're not going to, okay, I think from talking with him, if you look out his window, he sees trees today. He was concerned maybe, and they're high, he was concerned that it would just be looking at buildings, so.
If you look at our landscape plan that we proposed, you'll see that there's been a buffer added as well.
Yeah.
So, and we did actually physically slide the buildings further, I guess it would be west slightly to try to make the buffer a little bit larger.
Yeah. And I think he moved the entrance too, right? The entrance moved a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. So he just wanted to make sure that you were aware of
Yes.
those.
Yeah, no, he was very good with exchanging information and his concerns, and so we did what we could to try to make sure that we accommodated those.
And that is what's showing on the screen now. the
Yeah,
landscape
you can
plan.
see that it slid down and you can see, yeah. And I saw your landscape plan too, about the trees staying, yeah.
Well, on that same note, because I think we've spoken about that before, the driveway shining into the Lemire's house. And now it looks like it's
Between
right into the neighbors, the northern entrance.
It's right between, I think you can physically see the driveways for the two, one here and one here, and we brought it out in between the two as best we could.
Well, I'm more concerned about now that driveway is facing directly into that house.
This one here? I don't
Yes.
have the house physically located.
If you go to, Jay, go to page
One of
one.
the sheets has
Page
it.
one will show you the driveway, and it looks like the existing building. Oops. See how the driveway's going right into the existing building?
Yeah.
What's our distance from the intersection of Corning Road? I know that's the other concern. We want to keep it far enough away from that intersection, to make sure that we don't have any traffic backup. And I know that that was a concern when we were looking at locating that.
It's about 200 feet, 250 feet.
But I know you have a lot of different features to try to work around there. But if there's any way we can at least not have headlights in people's living rooms.
We can look
If
at
you
that.
could take a look.
Yeah.
Thank you. Everything else on my end has been covered so far.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we don't have the benefit of the traffic study. I guess there's a traffic study that you did.
So there was, what we were able to accomplish is, and I'll let Eric speak to this, is we were able to go, there's a lot of information on 3A from the state.
Yeah.
And we had conversations with the state and what their concerns would be and what they have for information. So they had some good traffic counts, they had it on the Manchester Litchfield line. So we had our traffic consultant take a look at that and make some determinations based upon that and what we're going to generate for traffic. Surprisingly enough, I travel this every day, morning and evening, because I live on Albuquerque, or right across the street at Westview. So we wanted to see what we were going to have for traffic input. And what I was surprised to see is, I think it was from 2018 to 2019, we actually had a decline in traffic on this route. And then 2020, it was one of those years of, COVID. So, you couldn't really take that information in 221. It was kind of similar. So we kind of looked at that and said, well, it's kind of one of these things where we saw from 18 to 19, an actual decline. I forgot what the percentage was, but Eric probably has that information he can share with you, which I was surprised to see. So they weren't concerned with the intersection of Corning Road. And, with the traffic that we saw on 3A, they weren't concerned with the amount of traffic that we had on 3A. So we, in the way that we split the traffic coming out onto 3A so that we could give them free traffic heading in each direction without having to worry about Corning Road, it minimizes the impact to Corning Road. And so, that was one of the things that Corning Road is what Corning Road is today. The state didn't have any plans to do anything with it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. At the time we spoke to them, and they said it was kind of going to be up to the town if they've got plans to do something down the road. But they didn't see anything at this point in time that represented a problem.
But there'll be an addition of what, 130 or so cars? If you can, that 2 vehicles or
Well,
a unit?
yeah, if I might, I didn't do the traffic study, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but generally speaking, when you look at traffic, and this may be a little bit different. If these were single-family houses, generally speaking, there's 10 trips per day per single-family house. Now, that trip includes something like someone leaving, going to work, and someone coming back. That's 2. It's the mailman coming down to the house. It's the person going out for groceries and coming back. It's the school bus, all kinds of other things. So the 10 trips per day is what the total would be. But what the traffic consultant does, it looks at the AM peak and the PM peak. And the AM is usually a little bit more because people are leaving consistently at the same time. But when they come home, it's a little bit delayed, perhaps. So the traffic study that we did shows what the wait time is for any cars leaving the site that are based on the generation of the units that we have. And that also takes a look at the cars turning into the site on 3A and those that are leaving the site in the morning. So it's primarily turning in the evening and leaving in the morning. And when we talked to DOT before we had any traffic work done, they said they did not need or want any traffic study per se on 3A. What they wanted to see is a traffic, the amount of traffic, trip generation from the site, where it's going to be going, which way, left or right, and all that. And that's what the traffic study is. So it concentrates on the impact of our project on 3A and where the traffic is going to go, as opposed to putting up cameras up and down 3A, because those numbers they already know.
But each unit could have 3 vehicles.
There's room for park 3, yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's the trips. I don't know, the trips of those that live there or visiting them, and then all the other, the Amazon delivery guys that are going to be going in there. I mean, I'll be interested to see the traffic study, but as you know, that's probably been the biggest concern of the board.
I'll have the traffic consultant here for the next meeting, so that way
Okay.
you can ask them whatever questions you might have for concerns or whatnot. And fill it out and finish it.
Okay.
And the letter was sent in today, right, I think? Is that something that the board can get copies of?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, and it's not just the people that live there, right? It's the people that live across the street, and they're getting in and out of their houses, and just whether it's light, but it's also just congestion. Not to mention the Corning Road. I mean, it is. I mean, I drive that every day as well. It's a fairly busy intersection, and it's not probably the best design intersection at Corning Road. I don't think this is going to help with the traffic problems that are there. I know there's somebody that wants to speak at some point. So
Are you with the project?
I am in the bottom.
Okay, I am going to open it up to public comment, so if you just hold on a second. But I did want to ask Mr. Karen, did you have anything that you wanted to say this evening, or you want to hold off, or?
Well, the letter says a lot. There are probably some more minor details that I didn't cover in the letter that we just clean up stuff. Probably the biggest thing is I didn't get all the drainage, the map for the post-development, the second sheet. I was able to look at the first sheet. I don't have it. So I'll take a look at that. I don't expect to see any problems with the basins and the ponds. But a lot of it just has to do with coordination. I give these guys a lot of credit for, it's sort of like they're trying to fit a size 9 foot in an 8.5 shoe on this site. It's a very challenging site for this level of project. I thought they did a very good job with the overall design. But just, details have to be there. If you want it constructed the way you intend, the plans have to show the details to make sure it gets done right. And I just found that a lot of coordination and things can be clarified, like Eric said, just more clarity.
Jay, did you have anything you wanted to add before I open up to public?
No, I think not more than what has been said. I think we've talked about, the conservation land, which is an issue, the sidewalk. So I think those are the major issues.
Yeah.
I do have one more thing. I'd like to correct one statement I made earlier. It wasn't just Brent Lemire. He was speaking for himself and a few of his neighbors.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will open it up to public comment. Is there any members of the public that wish to speak? I would ask you to come forward, to sit at the table so we can get you on the microphone. You have to state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Rich DeVoe from 549 Charles Bancroft. I don't like the project to begin with, but that's here and there. The traffic is going to be, in my opinion, going to be much more substantial. The exit on the northern end, that map really doesn't show, that's a blind corner. When I come out of my driveway, I nearly get hit every time now. I come out of my driveway, I see about maybe 100 feet to the left that I can visibly see. Cars are coming down there doing 45. The speed limit's 40, but everybody does much faster than that. I can barely see them coming. I come out of my driveway, before I can get up to speed, they're right on my bumper. I mean, that's now without the 130, 140 additional cars. And where that exit is right now, on the right, the other one, that's right before the corner. 75% of those people are going to use that exit because they're not going to go that way to go out the other exit or go in that way to the other exit. Only maybe 3 of those units will use that southern exit. All the rest will use that northern exit. And like I said, that corner there is a blind corner.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've nearly gotten hit a number of times. And in the spring and the fall, now you add the road companies' trucks, and they're running all day long up and down that road in the spring and summer. When I come south to go to my house, to go in my driveway, I have to literally stop and wait to get into my driveway, unless I'm dare enough to boot it in there quickly so I don't get hit. So as far as I can see, the traffic's going to be a huge issue. I know what the state did a state study, and they probably went out there at 10 o'clock in the morning because they don't start at 5 in the morning. They probably went out there at 10 or 11 in the morning and said, oh, there's not much traffic here. But they're not really sitting and really watching. I don't believe. Putting a sidewalk there may sound nice, but it's really a sidewalk to nowhere. I'm glad to see that they're going to keep it back away, so at least we'll have some, coverage. I think you would be better off if you put that Second Street in, if you put a road from there Northmore, because Northmore, where the tension wires are, across the street's more wooded, and there's no real housing up there. And you would get more people that would go out in and out that southern end, rather than all on the northern exit. Like I said, 75% of the cars are going to use that exit. And it's gonna be with the blind corner and Corning Drive. And it's gonna be a mess. It's really gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
So, that's about all I got to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anybody else, public comment? Come back.
I just have
Yeah.
I understand traffic is a concern, and we'll work with the town's consultants on that. But we do have, both our access points are to provide 400 foot of sightline distance required by DOT. So we have that, whether that's, so that complies certainly on paper for what needs to be done. But the traffic patterns, the attitude of people coming up down the street, how fast they go and that kind of things are things that we can work with DOT on as well as the town's consultants.
But can I say, would you disagree that almost everybody is going to come out that northern exit? And simply because of the way it's designed. I mean, they're not going to drive all the way through the project to the southern exit. They're going to use that northern exit. So you're going to get, I think this gentleman is right. You're going to get, 80% of your traffic is going to come in and exit through that one northern driveway.
Right. And
Was that, do you disagree with that?
Probably will. The traffic study, once it's reviewed, does split up which way the traffic goes, and I don't remember it from full memory as to where it is. I think majority will come out through there.
Right.
But what also looks at is the timing. How many cars are stacked up there in the morning, say the peak AM, and then and it's not, from my understanding, based on the trip generation.
Mhm.
It's, even though there's a lot of cars coming from the project, in the AM peak, which is the highest level, there's not a stacking problem with cars that come and go. So there may be cars coming and going in a lot that are not there today, but it's not a continuous line and backup of cars down through there. But I would like everyone to take a look at the traffic trip generation information, and we'll also talk to the town's consultants on that.
Question, and I guess this is for the board as well. Would the board be interested in doing a site walk of the project at some
I
point?
think it'd be worth it.
And would the applicant be amenable to that, I guess, is the next question. What's that?
Pick a one day.
Yeah.
Spring is coming.
June.
Going in and out of my driveway.
Yeah.
I think that might be helpful to the board, and certainly give you perspective. I know sometimes it can be hard looking at maps and trying to figure out, how this is going to work or whatever, but actually having a visual in a site walk, I think can be helpful. But that's something we can, down the road, I think we can probably set up if you're interested. And if there's a time that you think, you'd like us to come, certainly can do that as well.
Mid-afternoon rush hour.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Given that we won't see anything else, maybe AM rush hour.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a valid concern. I drive on Corning every day. I go into Boston and I come through there during the normal rush hours. And one, Corning Road with that telephone pole is just a bad idea anyway, because you can't see to the right. But they're right. Cars coming up that road from Manchester up that corner are just cruising, and nobody's paying attention in that area. So it's you could have a line of 10, 15 cars just going 40, 45, 50 miles an hour, and then just cruising through there. So adding that in there, it's a valid concern that you're going to have cars coming out of there and you're going to see accidents.
If the board does do a site walk, it'd be helpful to have the both of the entrances demarcated up so
Yeah.
we can see where they're.
I agree.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. Do you have a time when you want to set up a site walk for
Um,
us? I'm sure you want it in daylight, so after
Yeah,
work isn't really
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the weekend is okay or first thing in the morning. We just have to make sure that we're able to tell the employees because they have a farming is there, so that we'll park on in front of their
Okay.
place, where we just said, as long as we have some notice, we'll be able to do that. So do you have any idea what day of the week or what time of day?
I guess what's the will of the board? Would you like to do a weekend or?
Well, Saturday's always, or at least for me, it's, it's preferable because.
I
Yeah,
think you
Saturday's
get a
good
better
for me.
feel during the week, though. It's the traffic the way it is already.
Yeah.
And then possibly visualize how it will be afterwards. But I think we'll get a better feel for it if we did it as inconvenient as it might be for all of us to do it during the week.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we possibly might be able to, if everybody can meet out there on a Saturday, we'll have the entrances marked, and anybody who wants to go back, and to give them permission to go back during the week, or either late in the day or early in the morning, they can double check,
Mhm.
in the upcoming week, if that's something that works out.
That's something that the
That
board.
might be easier.
Can I ask this gentleman?
Yeah, go ahead.
When does the traffic pick up in the morning?
5:30, maybe 6,
Yeah.
5:36.
I mean, if it was earlier, I mean, I think there's a point about it is going to a weekday.
It's low. It's like
Yep.
5:36.
Right.
Break period, and then there's, after 7, there's another hit.
Yep.
It's like one thing I'd like to mention is, I called the Department of Safety, which determines the speed limit
Mhm.
on Charles Bancroft Highway.
Yeah.
I asked them about, could we reduce the speed limit
Mhm.
from Corning Ave
Mhm.
to the Manchester border
Yeah.
to maybe 35? People won't go 35, but it might reduce them 5 miles an hour.
Yep.
And because I was talking about like the signs, one sign says 40, another sign says 35, another sign says 40 again, all in the same area.
Mhm.
But apparently the yellow signs are suggestions,
Oh,
not the
Yeah,
speed limit.
that's a thing.
Only the signs are the
Yeah.
speed limit.
Yeah, yellow signs are suggested, white
But
signs are speed
The
limit.
town of Litchfield can request the Department of Safety to reduce the speed limit. I can't, but you can.
Yeah.
And that might help with some of this.
Board of Selectmen, I would assume.
Just to note
Even just from Corning Ave to the Manchester border.
Right, it's 30 at the Manchester line.
Right, it's 30 there, but it's 40 right
Well,
now.
Well, and that's the thing
And you're
too.
going into blind corners left and right.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've been down 3A right there where it's Manchester and you've got those streets coming off.
Yeah.
How many times you run into an accident right there from the people just coming out because that's so congested. So, I mean, if they're having that many accidents right there every year, it'd be interesting to find out how many accidents Manchester has on that part of the road to understand what we could be looking at because there are a lot of accidents down there.
You're gonna look
And
at the
that's-
same
and that's
thing,
slower
and
speed,
another
too.
130 cars.
No, that part's
Manchester.
that's Manchester. That part is Manchester.
So, yeah.
Goes up, which is the residential part before you reach the bridge 55 and older community that's in Litchfield. So if you go, as you're coming down, just before you get to the line, you got Pine Ave that comes out, that's down one of those blind corners. And then it's just, you don't
It's
have
right, where,
another-
it's right where the straightaway is.
Yeah.
Right before you get to the bridge, the overpass. It's that straightaway right there. There's a bunch of streets that come right up.
Couple
There's
streets, right.
accidents there
All the
all
time.
the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I see them all the time.
Yeah.
But it might be interesting to reach out to Manchester and see what they have for accidents on that area, just to understand what they go through.
You can get crash data.
So,
Just to note to your point on the peaks, though, they are in the traffic report.
okay,
When the peak hours are.
Yep.
And we actually do the counts for DOT. So those are based on 24-hour counts. And, those are the tubes stretching across the road and they're there for a week. That's typically how it's done.
what's the peak in the morning?
7 to 8 a.m.
So maybe 7 o'clock. I'd be willing to.
Sure.
If Ron provides the coffee and donuts, I'd be willing to go. I don't know.
It's a fait accompli. If you're.
From our new Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Right? Don't get too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I mean I think that would make sense in terms of actually having an
Yeah.
actual what visually, what
Yeah.
that would look like in terms of.
A typical
People,
work day, weekday
yeah.
commute, it may not be that day, who knows what's going on. A lot of things can happen if the weather's not good, but I think it makes more sense as much as Saturday's more convenient. I think Ron makes a point.
Right.
If you want to do a full site walk, that might take an hour or two during the week.
I don't know about that.
So should we do
but,
the
yeah.
Well-
Saturday full site walk so we can see, how the Temple Drive abutters might see it, and then
Unless,
if
I
we have a
mean,
chance
unless
to
you want to
stop
do it
and-
in two parts where you have something during the week where you're looking at the actual, really focusing on the traffic
Right,
piece.
Yeah.
And then on a Saturday, when it's a little, go out and do a site walk of the property, or something of that nature. We could do that.
Yeah, if it's works, if you want to schedule a Saturday for the full board, and we can schedule a time, whether it's 7 o'clock or whatever, and I can see if we can get DOT there as well as a traffic consultant to talk about that for whoever is able to make it to look at the traffic. So we can do it in two different ways. And if you want to plan on setting up a time on a Saturday, and we can look at the weather forecast for the upcoming week to set up a time during the Saturday meeting when we want to meet out there in the morning, perhaps.
Okay.
Did you want to pick a time now, or did you want to wait?
Weather doesn't look good for the rest of the week. I know that.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's
Yeah.
cold and maybe
This
some
week will
snow
be cold.
Sunday. So
Well, tell you what, if, well, obviously you're going to be coming back with your plans. So we still have to accept them. When would you probably going to have to be, I know March is kind of booked, but I don't know if, are we going into what, April?
We still have February.
We still have February. Or maybe the next meeting, when we do that, we can schedule a time to go on a Saturday. And then, obviously another time if we want to look at the traffic specifically at that particular hour, we can do that as well.
Our next meeting's in 2 weeks, which would be February 1st.
Okay. So what I propose we do is we will, at the next meeting, February 1st, we'll schedule a time at that time to do a site walk. Maybe it'll be warmer. I don't know. But maybe the weather will be a little bit better. Right now, I don't know if we're going to get another snowstorm or whatever, so I just don't want to set something up and then get it go bust. But I think that will probably work best. And then we'll schedule a time and then we'll do that. We'll have a site walk. Does that sound good to the, and the board?
And just so you know, February 5th is the budget hearing.
It is.
Deliberative
Okay.
session. February
Or, I'm
5th.
sorry, deliberative
Oh,
session.
deliberative session.
And is there another one on the 12th?
No, both of them are on the 5th.
Yeah, I think
Down
they're
in
both on
Both
the
of them
5th,
on
right?
the 5th now? Okay. So if there are abutters that wanted to attend both of those things, I think we should not schedule it for the 5th.
Okay.
Have it accepted.
So probably maybe the 12th.
Tentatively. Yeah,
Tentatively.
we can talk next meeting.
But the next meeting, we can talk about it, but maybe tentatively the 12th of February.
So we will have to re-notify since abutters since it was not accepted.
Yes.
And so I'll need 10 days prior to re-notification. So I don't know what day you're going to.
Um,
The first? Is the first reasonable?
The first
Tuesday.
for
February,
for the traffic.
for this case, for this project to come back to the
Project come
board.
back.
Oh,
So when they come back, we'll schedule the
okay. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
cycle.
Groundhog Day.
It's Lincoln's birthday.
So we have the 1st or the 15th.
No, that's Wednesday.
Yeah, the second, yeah, I think.
So if we schedule it on the 1st, that would maybe give us time to schedule, if we wanted to do the 12th, then we could schedule it then.
How many
And do
days
that.
is it now to the first?
14.
Does that give you enough time, Joe?
Looking to accept plans or just to schedule a visit
No, I need 10 days ahead to re-notify.
for
So
accepting for
Mr.
hearing?
Chairman,
Yes.
do we have to re-notify if everyone's been notified of this meeting?
I think, don't you have
we
to,
can't continue this, right?
because we didn't accept, so I think if
Can't
we,
make a motion to continue because you haven't accepted it.
right,
Is that right?
Right.
Nothing to continue.
so they're just gonna have to come in then on the 1st?
Whatever
So
date you want, but I
accept it.
just need 10 days ahead to get
So
stuff in the
the
mail.
1st of February. That's when they'll come back.
So you want us to get the notice, the labels and fees and everything down to you tomorrow? Is that,
That would be good.
okay.
Just to get it done.
And that's enough time to review the traffic study and everything, since that would be less than 21 days.
We have it in hand now, so 2 weeks should
So
be
I
enough.
think, I mean, as long as Jay has it,
Right.
I just want him
Lou's
to
gonna
have
look
enough
at it
time
too,
to-
obviously.
Yeah.
Do you feel 2 weeks is good, Lou?
Yeah, it's not a humongous study.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, the key, the one thing about traffic, you got to understand over the last 2 years, this whole country and state and everything else have been through a transformation where, 2 years ago, we were having lockdowns. Well, guess what? Fewer cars on the road. It's happened before with decreases in traffic, with increasing gas prices and things like that. So I'm not surprised that numbers have gone down over the last 2 years with people working from home. They don't have to get in their car and drive. So just something to keep in mind, that you can't expect that pattern to continue, hopefully. I mean, we're in trouble if it does, but, we've passed this COVID stuff and people get back to work and get together and go out and do things. The traffic will back up to the natural patterns, probably back to 2019, 2018. You generally have organic growth in New Hampshire, 2 to 3% a year. That's without a Amazon fulfillment center in your neighborhood. Just normal routine growth. But you throw in this COVID thing and that throws all the numbers out of whack. I wouldn't trust them.
We've got a permanent counter at on DW Highway at the Bedford line in Merrimack, and we think that's probably what approximates normal traffic the best. So that's kind of the one that we're watching. The Turnpike's down more because that's so heavily commuter, but it's definitely a moving target.
Yeah.
And to that end, if you do go out there for traffic, don't go on a Monday or Friday. Those are the lowest days.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because people who are doing hybrid,
3-day weekends.
yeah,
4-day
absolutely.
weekend, yeah. Makes sense.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll see you guys on the 1st, and we'll go forward from there, and we'll plan something for a site walk.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank
and,
you.
Eric, do you want this contact name at National Grid?
Yep.
I don't know if she had a cover letter. I'll have to look at the email again.
Well, we already did.
I think this is the same person I talked to before we submitted.
Okay.
All right, moving on to committee reports. Any reports from any committees? Kim?
Before I do that, do you mind, we had an email from Troy about the warrant articles. I told him 5 today, but apparently there's 6 because of the sidewalk came out of one of the
No,
districts.
there was, I thought there was 4, and then I told him 5. How did you get?
There was the floodplain, remember residential and business could be in there. Remember there was one of those, right? And we have the 4 business districts, but we took the sidewalk out.
Why the sidewalk was out? What was
It's going to
what'd
be
you
its
say?
own entity.
What'd you say first?
I think that, what was it, the floodplain?
Flood.
That, oh, the floodplain, yeah,
it was
that would be
more
the
just
extra one,
a
yeah,
typo, not
Yeah.
a typo, but we left something out, right?
right.
so we have the floodplain one to
Yeah,
just
you're
fix the sentence, and then we had the four, commercial districts.
Yeah.
And then they took the sidewalk piece out of the northern commercial and made it its own.
So here they are, item 1. That's the northern commercial zone. Oh, la, that's a long one. Item 2 is the sidewalk. Item 3, Southwestern Commercial District. Item 4, Northern Commercial Industrial Service District. Sorry for the scrolling. Item 5, Southern Commercial Industrial Service District. And item 6 is going to be floodplain. So 6 items.
And what was one again? Was that northern commercial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Northern commercial. So northern commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 6 items. Theoretically, though, the board could decide not to advance one or more of these at the next public
Right,
hearing.
because
to
it's
the
gone
warrant.
to public hearing again.
Right.
So theoretically,
Right. So do we want to give him an update, or I think
Well,
you
next
sent him?
Wednesday's the hearing. Next Wednesday's the hearing, the final
Right.
hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
And he said he needs it by the 28th. So we have it. I think our hearing's the 26th or something.
we have 2 days.
Yeah, there's 2 days. We got 2 days to. Okay.
You know what the maximum is? It can't go over 6. So
Sure.
the only risk is it could go down.
Yeah, I think that they're trying to work on the numbers for the rest.
I
of them.
know.
Okay,
It's close.
at least it was 6 because I said 5 and 5. It was all over. So I forgot we took the sidewalk out.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, committee reports. Well, back before committee reports, we do have a public hearing next Wednesday on the 26th for here at 7 p.m. At the town hall, and we'll be finalizing any changes to the Litchfield zoning regulations and site plan regulations. All right, as far as committee reports, Board of Selectmen meets next Monday, January 24th, 6:30 p.m. here at the town hall. We're still finalizing budgets and warrant articles, and we're just trying to wrap all of that up right now. National Regional Planning Commission, the next quarterly meeting is March 16th, 7 p.m. At NRPC's main office located at 30 Temple Street in Nashua. And that is all I have.
Any news on, remember that legislation that was going to be proposed about the
The
commissioners?
balance of power thing. Yeah, I
Sort of
haven't heard
anything about that?
Yes, actually. So the proponent, the main sponsor of legislation has agreed to amendments. So it looks as though the way it's going to go forward now, it won't change the number of representatives for any of the towns. It will add up to 2 more for Nashua. So Nashua would be able to get 6 instead of 4. And it would allow for, I think, 1 additional for Manchester. So they would not drop the bottom, but they would increase. They would have another allowance for, I think, every additional 20,000 people or 25,000 people. I think it's 25,000 people above 25. Right now, it's if you have 25,000 or more, you can have 4 representatives. And this would say for each 25 above that, you get another.
Manchester part of NRPC, or are they going to have somebody?
No, Manchester's really, it's only Nashua and Manchester.
Oh,
that
okay.
would
So you
really
said
be
they're going to have an
impacted.
extra one for Manchester.
Because they're the only cities that are large enough to get another 25, to have 50 or more thousand people. The only cities in New Hampshire are Nashua and Manchester.
Okay, so that one extra for Manchester doesn't affect NRPC as much.
No, not at all. Just in terms of who gets impacted by the legislation.
Okay.
So hard to say how that's going to go, but there seemed to be a consensus that was acceptable because nobody loses anything. So that seems to be where it goes. Previously, it had been everybody else would get 1. And needless to say, that did not go over well.
So at the end of this, it looks like Nashua gets 2 more.
If the legislation passes in the form that it's currently in, yeah. Still a moving target, but yeah.
Thank you.
And also, this Thursday, the 20th is Conservation Commission.
Yes, I was just gonna say, so the Conservation Commission meeting is this Thursday.
6:30 here.
At 6:30 here in Town Hall. The Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee is meeting this Thursday at 7 PM at Nashua City Hall. And the Capital Improvement Committee, I have no idea. I've sent notices out to Troy. Maybe you can ask him, Kim.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if about the Capital Improvement Committee when we're ever going to be meeting again.
The committee is invited to go and look at the school plans, so.
Right. And there was something about the re-imaging for GMS.
Yeah.
They had sent out something to people to, if they're interested to doing
Oh,
that.
yeah. So
You
you
should,
email.
I think you do want to try to push for the capital improvement meeting because the school board's putting forward a warrant article for major renovations to Litchfield Middle School.
Okay.
And I believe it's February 1st. They
Right.
plan to have a meeting at the middle school, allow the public to walk through the
Okay.
middle school and better understand the project. But
Yeah.
it's some of the things that were included on the capital improvement plan, and it also expanded a little bit.
Right.
So it definitely affects that.
Okay. I don't know, Kim, if you can reach out to
Sure.
Troy and to what's his name? No, who's our chair of the select board? Steve Weber, thank you. Had a brain aneurysm there. Yeah, to ask him to see if what they're looking to do. I mean, I've sent them emails, but I don't hear anything, and they're the ones that prepare the agenda for that. So Troy is. So
Okay.
I'm gonna need to maybe push him a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I have for committee reports. Kate, did you
Just
go to the
the-
budget committee?
Just the deliberative session on February 5th.
Okay. And the school is going first, is that my understanding?
I'm not sure who
I
goes
think
first
so.
that day.
I think that's what I heard, right, Kim? The school is going first?
I didn't hear who was going first.
Oh, okay.
Trade
Who's
off
going
every
first?
year, but I'm not sure.
I didn't hear.
Oh, I
I'm
think
just
it's,
I thought I
focusing
heard
on our,
that.
you know what time it starts? Is it like 10?
Is it 10?
I have it on the
I don't want to say the wrong.
Okay.
Okay. My God, I'm getting Alzheimer's disease here. Jesus.
Come on, guys.
It's pretty bad. The town report, Joan. Does that have to be in by a certain date?
Yes.
What date is it? Do you know?
Soon, probably.
Okay, all right. I'll work on that. But I got the stuff that you sent me, so thank you. Okay. Any other business? Jay, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. Joan, do you have anything?
No.
So we talked last time about asking the select board to appoint Sam Terrell as
That's
a
right.
full member. So I'd make a motion to request the select board appoint him as a full member of the planning board.
Okay. So it's a motion to recommend him, I think, to the Board of Selectmen for approval as a regular member. Certainly do that. So I have a motion by James. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Kate and Sam. Further discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 0, 0.
601.
01.
01.
601.
Oh, I'm sorry. 601.
You're gonna have to
It's
get
a-
used to counting 7.
Yeah, exactly.
We need a tiebreaker, right? Tiebreakers
Yeah,
are good.
you're right. It's always good. 601. So I guess I will send an email to Troy and let him know that we voted to recommend you to the Board of Selectmen to become a regular member. And they'll basically take it from there.
No, I don't think I saw
But
it.
congratulations. And hopefully we'll see you next meeting as a regular board member sworn in. So great.
You want to approve January 4th minutes?
Yes. Must be the full moon tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
Approval of the January 4th, 2022 and January 12th,
Oh,
2020.
January 12th, not ready, just January 4th.
Or just January 4th? Okay, 2022 minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to take a look at those?
Yeah, I just have one modification. On page 4, Joan,
Yeah.
under the committee reports, the
Yep.
one that's for NRPC
Yep.
is for March 16th, not January.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I may have misspoke.
Take a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, I have a motion by James. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ron. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approval of the January 4th minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained. Motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 7-0-0.
Getting the habit of this or something.
We'll get
Yeah.
numbers with our
Throwing everything
we'll get
off.
numbers on our
It's
name
an early
tag.
night.
All right, well, seeing I don't have anything else and I don't want to embarrass myself further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 7-0-0. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next time. Good night.